Hello, this is Cece with WGSN-DB Going Solo Network, and you are listening to Going Solo with Cece. And also, we are featuring the Author's Corner, Meet the Author. And we're going to go right on in because we've got a jam-packed show tonight. We have Karen Rose with us. Karen, nice to see you here.
Hi, thank you. And here's a picture of my book.
Yes, you've got a fabulous book. It's Take Good Care of Yourself, Simple Things to Do Right. Go ahead and hold that up so you can see it. Yeah, so you guys, when you go to you can order it on Amazon, right? Or you can go to the bookstore.
On Amazon. It's also sold at Wings Bookstore on 4th Street and is it about 45th Avenue, something like that.
Yeah, so we have a hometown girl here, right, from St. Petersburg, Florida, so it's nice to have you on the show. So tell us, Karen, how did you get into being, you are also a professional speaker and an author, yes. And so how did you get into doing what you're doing, writing this fabulous book?
Well, it's been a long process. Someday I'm going to be a 20-year overnight success or something like that. I don't know how many years I've been in the making of all this stuff. Actually, when I decided to write this book, I thought that I was going to be writing a different book. And I was just starting to recover from chronic fatigue syndrome and fibromyalgia, which literally knocked me down and out for about 2 years. I was working a corporate job at the time, and I was out at least 8 months of that time period on short-term disability. I was that sick. And the whole time I was sick, I'm like, I got to write this book. I really wanted to write a book. I wanted to get my speaking business back on track. And when I started thinking about the book that I thought I was going to write, I was going through some notes on challenges and change. And then I came across this list that said how to embrace your challenges. And that list, it was like this light bulb went off in my head. I'm thinking, here's my first book. I don't have to write the big chapter book first. It can be something more simple. So the list on that of the how to embrace your challenges is the table of contents in my book.
Wonderful. So often, and we hear it all the time here in the station and through everything that I do, because most individuals that are listening and will be listening to this show, they are really struggling with personal challenges, their personal journey. Their life is a little bit upside down. And so they're not quite sure on, what they want to do and how they want to do it. They just know they got to do it, Okay. And so how do we get moving forward? And that is what's such a difficulty for us. And sometimes when we can reach out and we can get good advice through means of a book, I think it's really great for us because we can read it, we can absorb it, because so often, when you read something, you don't get it all at once because there's so much there to get. So you can go back to it and use it as a reference. I have several books that I've kept and I just keep going back to over and over again, and they're just simple little books, but they inspire me, and so they're really great to have. And so your book, which is the Take Good Care of Yourself, Simple Things to Do Right, wow, that says a lot. So what would you suggest is just give us a couple tips on maybe taking care of yourself. What would you suggest?
Well, so I put in 41 tips to lower your stress and simplify your life. I've broken up the book. Let me peek back in it in the table of contents again, so I'm saying it right, into a few different sections: well-being, pamper yourself, good health, have fun, professional and career, and that's it. So I've included a lot of different things in it. Things from praying and meditating to writing in your journal to learning to be patient, which is not easy for a lot of us, writing a gratitude, keeping a gratitude journal, taking time to reflect, remember, and attribute to people. Like, that's one thing. That was one that I had. That was one of my favorite things that they did for me when I was on the Sanity Saver Tip series with a daytime talk show. It was what I did was I put a memory book together for my nephews, because when my aunt died so young, and she loved her grandkids so much, and at that time I guess she had 2 grandkids, and another one on the way. And it just completely broke my heart when we lost her, and especially knowing that these kids would never understand who their grandma really was, or they may not remember that much about her. So I put a memory book together for each of them that turned into, oh my goodness, it turned into quite the project, quite a few year project, actually. That's how much love I was pouring into it. And at one point, my mom and I were like, had a bunch of the same pictures, like 3 or 4 of the same pictures. And then we were almost doing mass production and putting this memory book together. But I tell you, the look on each of those kids' faces, and that they will have that forever and know who she really is. I mean, that is just such an important treasure. And, we hear a lot about keeping a legacy, and that's one way of, just keeping that alive. And that, for me, was one way that I actually lowered my stress and just kept my aunt's memory and love alive.
Yeah, that's a great tip, because it does a couple of different things. Like you said, it takes your mind off of you and you put it on something else that's much more positive. And you're able to kind of refocus a little bit and appreciate. So as you're building that memory book, you're appreciating the life of that individual and the lives of the ones that are left behind, the ones that are here still living. So you were able to really transpose, and that's a great thing to do.
Well, what was neat about it too, and I didn't even think about it as much until I finished it, was they were also seeing how their life was still interconnected. Like,
Yeah.
There was the one that the baby that was born a few months after she died. She had she was a school nurse, so he had her school bell that they gave her when she retired in his hand in one of the pictures, and he's just shaking this, and then he could see, oh, this was Grandma's bell. Oh, I was playing that with that when I was a little infant, and now he's a young adult. But it was just the coolest thing to see that and see some of the pictures of some of the kids, the older kids with her then too. So that was a really special moment.
Yeah, I think that's really great. I know that myself, when I was going through my divorce, my daughter's birthday came up, and I decided I was going to they have this it's very inexpensive little video thing you can make, and you can add music to it and pictures to it. And so I went down and gathered a bunch of pictures of her when she was little, and each little phase, and then I would write little captions and add it to music and things like that. And I found such joy in doing that. And again, it took me off of being sad, going through probably one of the toughest times of my life, but I was able to redirect that into for her birthday. And then when I did, I posted it on Facebook and all of that for her. And she was so blown away by it. It was just such a nice thing to do. So I think too, if you step out of yourself, and what you were doing, was definitely something you've definitely have done, and it's great.
Well, another great way of doing that is to just go take a walk in nature. Just, get away from what you're doing, take a few minutes to just kind of ground yourself by being out in nature. I used to live in an apartment complex where they had a duck pond in the middle of it, and there was a walking path around it. And to me, that was very meditative to walk around that path. And some of the ducks would be like, quack, 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 when you're walking by, and I'd be like, quack, quack, back to them, like I was just talking to them. And it was just so sweet, because it was like this different kind of communication, but it was just so sweet when I walked by and they quacked. It was like they were saying hi to me. I don't know whether that's really duck talk or not, but it just made me happy. And I found that some days I had a lot of, kind of this griping irritation going on in my head and my life and whatever. And I find that the first round, it might be like mumbling under my breath or something, and trying to work things through in my mind. But as I kept walking a few rounds, I'd be like peaceful by the time I, do 2 or 3 rounds, and whatever nonsense, and that's all it was. It was something that really didn't matter when it really came down to it, but I couldn't seem to get out of my head initially until I started walking and moving and just getting myself out of that same space that might have caused it. And then I just felt better. And so it was a meditative way. It was a way to ground myself. It was a way to just connect with nature and be out in the sunshine. And, you know, I mean, we're just so lucky we live in Florida.
Oh, yeah.
Not everybody that's listening is from Florida, but, you know, I mean, there's always a way that you can get out and connect in nature. I mean, even if it's right after it snows. When I used to live up north, I used to always love the right after it snows. It was like this perfect peace and such beauty. And so, I mean, it's those things too that you can enjoy no matter where you are. Even when it's raining, it's kind of like soothing in some ways. So there's a lot of different ways of just connecting with nature that you can feel really good, or, you know, spend time with your pet. You have a pet, you know, my mom's dog and my family dog just brings so much love and joy to us. And I know so many people are so attached to their dogs and their cats and other animals.
Mhm.
And you know, and that's another way of just really lowering the stress and really keeping perspective of things.
Absolutely. I think it's great. Now we have with us Karen Rose. And Karen, tell us a little bit how we can get a hold of you, what your website is.
My website is www.karenrosespeaker.com. It's
Okay.
www.karenrosespeaker.com.
Well, I think you're such an inspiration. What we're going to do is let's take a quick break. And when we come back, let's talk a little bit more about how we can motivate ourselves, how we can get out of any funk that we're in the muckety muck, and try to move forward and look at life a little bit, you know, better, and try to relieve some of those stresses of every day. So when we get back, Karen, we're going to talk a little bit more about that. So I do have with me Karen Rose. We are listening to WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. This is Cece, and we are on the Going Solo with Cece show, and also with the Author's Corner, Meet the Author. And so we'll be right back. I want to thank WGSN-DB, Going Solo Network, for all that they do. We are really kind of the place to go now with singles, and we're trying to embrace singles, motivate them, inspire them, and move them forward into living their best life. And so I hope that you will stick around, listen to all the great shows here on WGSN-DB, Going Solo Network. So we're going to bring it right back. We have Karen Rose with us. She is a fabulous speaker and author. She has a super book, which is called Take Care of Yourself, Simple Things to Do Right. Not wrong, but right. Do right now. So we want to do them right now. So I think it's very important. Again, the book, so I want you guys to write it down. It's called Take Good Care of Yourself, Simple Things to Do Right Now. And so raise your book up so they can see your the cover. Yeah, so that's great. And you know what? I love it because you're just opening your arms and you're saying, let's just move on with life. Let's just welcome life in. And so, first part of the show, we talked of some really good tips. You had some great tips there. So
that picture was taken right after I felt like I was finally, I would consider myself fully recovered from chronic fatigue syndrome, but I still had a little ways to go. But then I was more functional than I was in more than a year and a half. So that's why when I was out on the beach, it was at Anna Marie Island, and it actually was a really cold day. And here I am wearing shorts and a t-shirt, but you can't tell. And I was freezing because I was still super happy because I was feeling so good. And it was just a beautiful sunset when we took the picture. And yeah, again, getting back to being out in nature. It's like
enjoying life. You know, I think too, sometimes it's our perspective of things. Mm-hmm. You know, if we are constantly thinking the negative, thinking the worst things are going to happen to us, you know, we can't get out of that depression, I think, that we put ourselves in. And so looking at, you know, the glass, you know, what is that old saying? Is the glass full? Is it empty? Is it ready to be filled? You know, I don't really know how that goes, but I think it's important that we look at life in a different way, don't you?
Oh, yes. And that's why one of my favorite things to do is to keep a gratitude journal, because it doesn't matter what's going on in your life. There's always something to be grateful for. Even if it's like, well, I got out of bed today and somebody smiled at me when I walked by them, or I have a beautiful home and I have good food to eat and I have people around me that love me. But everything else in your life might be like, oh God, when is it ever going to change? But, you know, you just keep that positive perspective and write and record the things that you are grateful for. Then that's more of what you'll start to attract.
Absolutely.
I mean, and sometimes if like things are like really getting to you, then just take time to just kind of like do free form writing. Just write it all out and then just rip it up and either burn it or flush it or something and release it. Don't read it again because you don't want to put it back in your system. Sometimes getting it up and out like that can help also.
Oh, that's a great tip, because I think that's so true, is to be able to write it down, release it, get rid of it. You know, in the divorce support group, we write to each other and we talk how we feel or whatever. And I've often said that just share it with us. Don't share it with your ex, but just share it with us and get it off your chest. You know, release all that negative information, that negative feeling that you have that's creating stress for you. Right. Absolutely. Yeah, I love what you do, Karen. I think it's great. I really do. Yeah. And now on your website, you have some really great tips that are there that we haven't actually talked about here on the show. So I hope everybody will go to your site, which is Karen Rose, right? KarenRoseSpeaker.com?
Yes.
Yes. So definitely do that. Now you are open to going out and doing talks to, you know, companies and facility, you know, things like that, to be able to broaden your horizon a little bit. So,
right. Yeah, I speak about lowering your stress to simplify your life. I speak about wellness. I speak to students about creating success by making good choices. I'm working right now to get into the college market to speak to students about that, and a lot of other life topics and human rights and human decency things have really come up so much lately. And those are topics that I'm interested in talking about too. I've been working with students, exchange students, for about 7 years now. I'm a community coordinator and advocate for a foreign exchange program, and I've brought 35 exchange students here from 14 different countries.
Wow, that's marvelous.
It is. It's really cool. It's one of the coolest jobs I've ever had, one of the coolest things I've ever done. I also was a host mom for a beautiful exchange student from Thailand, and appropriately her name was Pretty, and she really was very pretty. She had a cute nickname, and just learning about other cultures and countries and embracing the differences and learning from and learning from each other. We realized that we really have a lot more in common, but the differences and the different cultural things are things that make us, make our lives so much richer. I mean, I feel so much richer from knowing all these kids. I hear from most of them all the time. Thank goodness for Facebook. I get to hear from a lot of them, on a pretty much regular basis. And I have 3 kids here this year from, three girls that are here this year. Actually, I had a 4th one, and he's now out in Wisconsin with a great host family. And I'm always looking for host families throughout the United States. So if anybody knows of anyone that wants to host a student, and open your heart and home to them and share your America, it's really cool.
Oh, yeah. I think that's absolutely great. And, again, it takes you off of you, puts it onto someone else in a very positive way, and it creates something. You're just building something from that. So I think it's awesome. Absolutely terrific.
It's just so amazing how we get in our little routines and everything. And then you bring an exchange student into your home, and things that you are just like so used to, they'll think are the funniest thing in the world or the oddest thing in the world, or they'll tell you about how they do it in their culture. And it's just like, I had a boy here he was originally from, his culture is Vietnamese, but he lived in Germany most of his life. He's the one that we moved out to Wisconsin with a great family out there recently, but he stayed in my home with me for a few days till we got everything and got him to his next home. He stayed with a welcome family for a while, and then they were ready to travel, so they weren't able to keep him here. But it was the funniest thing, because he'd be in the bedroom and all of a sudden it would start pouring rain like no tomorrow, like it does here in Florida once in a while. He comes running out of the room, he's looking at the rain, and he's cracking up. And it's like, that's just something that just happens, not just in Florida, but other places. All of a sudden there's torrential rains, but he thought it was the funniest thing in the world.
Did he not get rain where he lived?
He does, but not to that level.
Because we really do get it.
So intense. And then I remember one time a Chinese girl was staying with the host family, and when they brought the Christmas tree in, she thought that was the funniest thing And it's like some of the things that come up are just, oh my God, they're just hysterical. And so you really get to see your own life from somebody else's eyes, and it's just so neat to see it in a different perspective.
Well, you know what that brings, it's such an appreciation of what we have. We don't realize it when we're sad, or we're going through some depression, and that our lives are full of change. We don't realize that sometimes the changes that we experience is going to propel us into something more beautiful, better than we had ever imagined. So it's just getting through that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's why it's
So,
really amazing.
and you can imagine how these kids feel when they first are coming over here. They're
Oh.
filled with excitement, but they're also probably very scared because
They're nervous, they're courageous,
yeah,
very courageous, and that's why I love being an advocate for them and watch them go through it. And what was really funny is the first year I had a student here, I only had one student, and she was from Thailand, and absolutely one of my all-time favorites. And I mean, I love all the kids, but she was one that I still hear from 7 years later. I hear from every single week, and she keeps begging me to come to Thailand. But after she went back, as soon as she saw the kids that I placed for next year and she saw them on Facebook, she sent them Facebook invitations right away. She wrote to me and said, if any of the kids need any help, let me know, because then she was reliving her year of, okay, I remember how I felt this month. And then, oh yeah, it was more fun when we got to December. But then again, I felt a little homesick because I missed my family at that point. And, she wrote the most beautiful letter to one of my kids who was really dealing with a bout of homesickness, and really helped her a lot. So, it's this community. And I mean, I've connected kids from all over the world, and I'm still working on getting my first passport. I'm step it up here because I really want to travel and visit them. But,
that would be great. Well, it's paying it forward. And then it sounds like, this young lady definitely realized what an opportunity she was given, by coming to live with you and experiencing everything. And she wants to pay it forward to make everyone else feel comfortable so they'll enjoy it too. So, yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, so when Pretty went back, the girl that I hosted, when she went back to Thailand, her parents are still writing to me and thanking me 3 years later and saying, American Mom, when are you going to come visit us in Thailand? Come stay as long as you want. And it's like, when I see things like that on Facebook from her parents, it's like, oh my God, does my heart sing.
Yeah. It's just amazing what our lives will, what they'll bring, what it brings for us. And so I like your book because I think it's really great. It relieves a lot of stress, a lot of everyday stuff that we go through to really be able to cope with it and to understand it a little bit more. And then, like you said, your gratitude journal, you're helping others, you're paying it forward, you're making a change in not only your life, but others' lives. Yeah, I think it's really a great thing. And I can see why you would be very successful in being a speaker. And so I hope that does blossom for you and you're able to get out there and share this wonderful message to other people. That would be wonderful.
The word blossom too, because my company's name is Blossoming Rose Communications.
How about that?
Since my last name is Rose, and that just came to me a long time ago when I was in a personal growth seminar one time. It was just something that came to me in that part of the seminar that we did.
Well, that's wonderful. So tell us again how we can get your book. And your book again is Take Good Care of Yourself, Simple Things Do Right Now. And so where can we get the book at?
Take good care of yourself, simple things you can do right now. You can contact me, and I always have some in stock. They sell it at Wings Bookstore on 4th Street in St. Petersburg, Florida. That's 4th and I think 45th Avenue. And it's also on Amazon. I don't know how many copies Amazon has right now, but I can replenish if need be. But always feel free to give me a call too. My phone number is on the website, KarenRoseSpeaker.com.
Okay, that's great. Well, and if they want to hire you or have you come out to speak, they just contact you through your website, through the website too?
My phone number is right there on the website, and they can just email me, Karen at KarenRoseSpeaker.com, or call me. And yes, I'm always happy to talk to people about speaking opportunities, any kind of speaking opportunities. I'm happy to, just because my whole thing is that I just have such passion to help others to make their lives easier. Because like you've been through we've all been through our share of bumps, but when we learn from those, we can help others cut their learning curve and just move forward and then reach their full potential and do the great things that they want to do in their life as well. So.
Right. And actually what you're meant to do and to help others. And that's a great thing. So thank you again so much for being on the show. I do appreciate it.
Thank you for inviting me, Cece. It's a pleasure and it's an honor.
Oh, you're welcome. Well, this is Cece with Going Solo. You are listening to WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. This show will be featured in the Author's Corner, Meet the Author, and I hope that you enjoyed Karen Rose just as much as I did. Bye for now.
Bye.